Hello everyone, my name is Nilesh and you're watching Techie Programmer, and today in this complete video we are going to understand Python 3. So how to install it, how to code in it, and how it ends, like totally complete set of Python beginners to, you can say, advanced. So let's get started. First of all, we need to install the required software. So in order to install Python, what you need to do is the process remains same for either if you are using Windows or Mac. What you need to do is just open your favorite browser. Let me just take a new tab here. Let me just search for Python, Python, and hit enter. And it will suggest me a first link, that is www.python.org. Just hit on this. Then this is the official page for Python, and the current release is 3.9. so this is the latest one. What you need to do is hit on source code, and then you can come here and see the latest 3 release is this, and you can just here you can have a stable release. I prefer you going with the stable release, but let's go with this. Hit on this, and you need to just scroll down, and here we have files for all the operating systems. So what we are going to do is, if you are using a Mac OS, then I prefer it's the only option that you need to install. This is Mac OS 64-bit installer. And then if you are using Windows, then you just need to open this file. Yep, this one, executable installer. Or if you have AMD processor, then you should just go with this. So you can just go with x86 executable installer, this one. Okay, you can install any. Then you can, after just clicking on this, it will start a download. Once you have downloaded, I have already downloaded here. I will just click on this. The UI remains almost same. It will be asking for these particular stuff. You just need to hit on continue. Hit on agree, continue, install. If you are a Windows user, then you need to make sure there is an option called add to path, and that is necessary only if you have never installed Python on your system and you are installing for the first time. Then that option will be available somewhere around here, and you just need to make sure you tick that right. And after hitting that, you just hit continue, and that's it, and it starts installing the packages. And once done, we will be, let's wait and watch. Okay, so I guess this is almost installed. Let me just go to this view. So let me just see what has come with this package. We have ideally to write the program, and this is a launcher kind of interpreter, and this is readme, and this is a shell profile.command. This is certificate, this is license, this is documentation for the Python. What we will be using is just IDLE. So if you do not find this, what you can do is in the start section, you can just go to the start section, click on that and search for IDLE. And if you're on Mac, you can just do is IDLE, and it will just show you, right? So let me just hit open on IDLE. Let's see what it is. After that is done, let me just close this. I'll just minimize this, and this is the installation is done. Let me close. Let me move to bin. Okay, so here is my IDLE. Okay, so let us check if our Python has been perfectly installed. In order to do that, what you need to do is just type print. Print is a function which prints on the screen. So let me say hello world and hit enter. and you can see a blue color output that is hello world. It means that the Python has been successfully installed on your computer. So congrats, you have made up to here. That is, your Python is now up running and you can just execute your scripts here. But we will not be using this interface in order to write our programs. So what we'll do is we'll create a file there in a notepad or something else, or a pretty good editor. We will just move on to editors in the later section. For now we will stick on to the basic editor that we get with the Python. Just you need to click on file, then click on new file, and here you can see you get an untitled new file, and you can just type your code here. Even this is a basic editor, it just does not autocomplete the stuff. This is a little hectic because you need to remember everything. Once you get started working with IDEs, the different text editors, we will have plugins which will autocomplete your work. But for now what we will do is let us understand how the file is created and how to run a file. So first of all, in order to create a file, we hit on the file section. You can just see that again here. Hit on this and click on new file. Once we write the code here, we click on run option and run module. Let's see. So we had just executed a command called hello world. So let's do that again. In order to print, you need to use a function called print, and then in a parenthesis, in single quotes or double quotes, you just need to pass your string. So let me just say hello world. So if we consider this is our whole script, and if I want to run this script, what I need to do is hit on run module. It will ask me to save the file. Let me just click on OK. I need to select a name for it. Let me just save it on the desktop. Create desktop, create new file. Let me just name it as tutorial. Okay, hit create, and let me just name it as test1. And now you can see it just restarts and runs a tutorial test.1py, and the output is hello world. Okay, so let me just close this, and this is our script. So we have learned how to print something on a screen. Now let us understand how the data types, what are the data types, and how we add, subtract the strings. So first of all, let us do some mathematical calculations and let us assign few stuff. Okay, so for example, we have variables. Variables are something that holds the value. For example, let me name it as number 1 equals to 10. So here the number 1 is a variable that holds the value 10 in it. Okay, but there are certain set of rules in order to declare a variable, and it starts something like a variable name should consist, it's not compulsory condition, you can make use of alphabets and numbers, but it should never start with a number. So this is not a variable because it starts with a number 6. I mean, just it shouldn't start with a number. And you cannot make use of special characters in your variables, like if this is a variable with $, then it is not accepted. You can just use anything, but you should make sure that you don't use a special character in it, and your variable name doesn't start with a number. You can use capital and small case letters, but it is always preferred to use lowercase as a variable. So let me just make sure that I have assigned a number 1 equals to 10. So this means that a value 10 has been assigned to number 1, and this is called assignment operator, where we say the number 1 equals 10. Then let us create another variable called number 2, and using an assignment operator I will just set it to 20. So now what if I go with number 1 plus number 2. So what this basically does is, this is assignment operator that saves the value, this particular value and this particular value and this. And number 1 plus number 2, what it does is, this is the 10 and this is 20, so sum up it's 30. But what I will do is, if I want to save this or store this particular value in a third variable called number 3. Yep, so this is how I can do that. So what I did is, basically here it's a number 1, here it's number 2. So what I do is number 1 plus number 2. What if I run this? What happens if I run this? Let me just show you. You have to make sure you save that. It doesn't print anything. This is because we did not use a print statement and said that just print this. So let me just show you, what if I want to show something on the screen. So I will do is print and then pass the variable. If I want to print the number, number, that is 3. Okay, so let me just hit on run module, click on this. Yep, 10 plus 20 is 30. This is how it works. Okay, so what we did is, we understood how to assign a number, how to add a number. Okay, so let me just make a brief note here. In order to, if you want to subtract something, then we use this negative operator. If I want to add something, I use positive. If I want to divide, then I use /. If I want a remainder of that, then I will use modulus. Okay, just let's run this and just check it out. Okay, I will just remove this. Instead of plus, what I will do is minus. Let me run this. Okay, so here we can see it's minus 10 because number 1 is 10 minus 20, so it is minus 10, so it's minus 10. Then let's go with the division. So you can see 10 divided by 20 is 0.5. Then next, let's go with modulus. Modulus will return you the remainder. And floor division, that is double double, this is also called as floor division, which returns you the quotient value. So let me just run this. So quotient value is 0 because it is 0.5, so it turns out to be 0. Like, it just returns the integer value. And then if I want to multiply, what I will do is use a asterisk or a star, then hit on run. Yep, so 10 into 20 is 200. So this is how we do basic operation or addition, subtraction, multiplication, division and floor division. Once we are done with this, let us try doing this stuff with strings. Basically, now whatever we have done is numerical. So what if I do this same thing with string? Let me just write a string called as Python. Okay, then what we can do is, let me just make it as programming PROGRAMMING. I can add two strings. For example, if number 1 is Python and number 2 is programming, and if I add these both, then the output should be whatever you are guessing that is right. Actually, that is going to be Python programming. You can see here there is a no space what we can do is you can just add and space here, hit this. Okay, so this is Python programming. So what we basically did is we added two strings. This is kind of a string concatenation wherein the way you arrange them or add them, they remains at that particular space, and that will be assigned to this particular stuff. Okay, so we were able to do this. What I will do is, what happens if we try to add a string with an integer? We cannot do that because we'll be getting an error. Let me just show you that. So only concatenate string, not int to string. So this is what I wanted to show you. You cannot add a Python string to an integer, but you can do is multiply them. What does multiply do then? Multiplying a string just multiplies it and prints it. For example, if I multiplied it with 3, it just gives me Python 3 times. And if I multiply it with 100, then it gives me 100 times this repetition of the same string. So this is how it works. What we can do is just multiply a string here. Okay, this was pretty easy to understand and the basic level stuff. Now what we will do is, let us just little bit explore in a real programmer type. What we will be doing is understanding the data types. In Python, we have data types called as int, string, float, list, tuple, dictionary. I guess that's it. And what are these is, these are the data types. For like int is any number that is 10, 20, 30. Okay, and string is anything that is enclosed under single or double braces. Like this is also a string, that is name. This is a string. Or what you can do is just enclose in double brackets, that is my name. Okay, just an example. So double braces, double quotes. Then float is a floating point number, a floating point integer. So that is, for example, 3.14 is an example for floating point. List is kind of array. If you have done any other programming languages as C, C++ and all, this is a concept of array. Array is a set of data. So for example, if I want to write a list, it has a syntax like we go with square brackets around it, and then we fill our data. For example, if I want to store 1 and I want to store a string as time, then if I want to store a floating integer, that is 3.14. okay, so what I'm basically doing is, a list can be a collection of different data types. For example, what I did is, first one is the integer, second one is the string, third one is a floating value. It can be anything. So I just wanted to show that. So list is something like this. And then tuple is somewhat similar to list, but the major difference is not just it is written in a simple brackets, but the list is mutable, whereas the tuple is immutable. What I mean by mutability and immutability is, the contents of the list can be changed at any time or appended, but the contents of tuple cannot be added or subtracted. So it's kind of a constant thing. So if I write 1, 2, 3, then this is kind of stuff that we cannot add a 4 in that, like in the runtime of the program. Coming to the dictionary, dictionary is kind of a key value pair. So dictionary is always written in curly braces, and then it has a kind of a structure, that is, if my key is 1 and its value is name. So like this kind of stuff, like first thing is a key. So here this one is a key and name is a value, so it is a group of key value pairs. If I want to write some more stuff here, I can just do with that. That is 2 is kind of last name, whatever. So this is a set of key and value pairs. So this is just an introduction, but we will be using this in the later section. So I hope you got the clear understanding on string, assignment operator, basic multiplication, addition, subtraction, and data types in Python. Once done with this, let me just show you the keywords. So keywords are something or a set of words that are used in Python for a specific function. For example, you cannot use a variable name as if, not, is, or while, because these all are a kind of functions in Python, are also called as keywords. So they have their separate functionality and you cannot introduce them as a variable. For example, if I cannot describe a variable called if equals to 10, because you can just see there there is a change in color from black to orange after writing if. So it means that it's a reserved word and it has certain functionality and you cannot use that. But you can just, if you want to use something like that, then what you can just do is you can add a tweak for that, like just add an underscore or something like that. So this is what keywords are. And if you want to know what are the the keywords, name of keywords, what we'll do is just let me just show you the keywords. For now, what I'll do is just comment this out. Let me tell you how to comment. Let me just describe the comment section first, then let me just show you the keywords. Comment is something that is written. For example, I was explaining you what is int, string, float, list, etc. So I was explaining you something that is a kind of a part of program that is just describing what is going on, right? So that is need to be documented. So the string or the context that you write in order to describe a program, but that is not a part of a program, then it is called as a comment. So you can write a single line comment or multi-line comment. So in order to write a single line comment, you just need to use a hash star, then you can just type a comment, like for example, this is a comment and this is a single line comment. So as soon as you move to the next line, again it starts as a part of a code. And if you want to write a multi-line comment, what you can do is just go with triple quotes, then another triple quotes. So this is start and the end of the, now whatever I write is a part of a code. So this is a single line and the multi-line comment. So I will just comment this out because this will cause an error, because this is not actually a program, right? So this is a program, no worries with that. Let me just run this. Okay, so we just printed the old stuff. Now in order to show you the keywords, what you can do is just write help and then pass a string called keywords and hit enter. Now here you can see there are around false, break, noun, you can just count them. I guess there are 32, I guess 32 or 33. So this is true, continue, def, delete, elif, except, finally, lambda, is, in, import, if. We will be studying most of these, not all. So let's see in a while, like as we move ahead. So these are the words, make sure you just don't use them as a name of a part of a variable. Okay, so let me just close this. So this is keywords, right? You can just call it by help keywords. So we are now ready for, we have understood how to go with numbers, strings, types of this. Let us now understand how to access and use this int, etc, etc. We have learned how to use integer, we have learned how to use string, but let us understand more depth in strings. So let me just define a word called name equals to, let me just take a string that is python. So what can I do with this? Okay, so first of all, what we will do is indexing. Just you can imagine a string is kind of a array which is like p is 0 1 2 3 4 and 5. So this is kind of an array of letters or set of words or set of letters. So you can even like print, and like name is my variable in AME, and if I want to access, like for example, if I want to print particular second letter, that is y, then what I'll do is just create a square brackets and then write the index value. For example, if I want to access y, then what I will do is I will type it as 1, because indexing starts at 0. So p is at the 0th position, y is at the first position. And what I'll do is just comment this out. Okay, so let me just run this function f5. Okay, just so you can just see here, we printed out y. This is because in this particular string access, we access using this square brackets, and then access the first element, this is y. And if I want to go with n, what I can do is either count it like 1 0 1 2 3 4 5, or just go with -1. This says go from back. So let me just hit on this and hit on run. You can see just I printed n. So you can use this kind of stuff in order to slice things. For example, if I want THON, just the last 4 letters, what I can do is tell about the first letter, that is PY. So that is 0 1, and that is starts at 2, from 2 to end. So what I'll do is I'll just leave it blank. It just means that from here to rest of the thing. This stands for infinity, that is the rest of the thing. So let me just hit on run module. Okay, so THON. If I want to go this as a reverse order, what I will do is, if I want everything from -2, if I want to print PYTHO, then what I will do is I will just go with -1, run, so PYTHO. So this is how it works. And if I go with, like if I just leave it as it is, then it means from start to end. So let me just run this. So this is Python, that's it. So once we are done with this, let us move on to the list. Okay, so float and kind of int, the working with float and the int is almost similar, because the floating values are in points and integer values are just integers, numbers, right? Okay, so let me just comment out this two here. I'm just commenting this out because you can just refer these sections later. Okay, coming down, let me just create a list. Let me just grab this list itself. Let me just copy this, paste this. Okay, so here I have list as 1 2 and 3, and what I'm going to do is if I want to print this one, okay, so what I will do is print, as I said, this string and the list are a group of kind of collection of data types. List is a collection of data types and the string is a collection of characters. So the accessing methodologies remains same for both string and the list. For example, if I want to take, let me just rename, I just said you the variable name cannot be a name of a keyword. So what I will do is I'll just make it as new list. Okay, and what I will do is from new list, new underscore list. In order to access, I just said you, we go with square brackets and then we type what kind of or what actual index location we want the data from. For example, if I want it from the first location, then I go with a 0. Hitting on 0, let me just print this. You can see I just printed 1. Then hitting on 1, this is 0, 1th position. Hitting on Control F5, hitting on Save Control F. So I was able to get the time. So I will just show you a double slicing. That is, once I have accessed 1, that is time, from that I can just access IME. For example, if I want to do that, what I can do is use another set of square brackets and access that stuff. For example, if I want to access IME, then it starts at 1 and from there it ends. So what I will do is, just let me just show you, run this. So you can just see that I just neglected T there and IME. So this is kind of multi-level indexing. What I did is just took the first, then accessed time, then cut that part. Okay, so I hope you have learned how to access the data from the list and the string. And then let us go for a tuple. Tuple and working with a list is same. So let me just show you. Let me just keep it commented. So let's now understand the tuple. And tuple is kind of similar to the whatever we did with list. Let me just show you that again here. Just take it up. Okay, come here. So tuple, let me just make it a little complicated, adding the same param that we had, that is time, and then 3.14. And let me just name this as, we cannot use the data type name, so I just used new tuple. And what I'm going to do is, in order to print something on the screen, we use print param, then come here, then we need to pass parameters here, that will be new underscore tuple. Okay, let me just print this. So here you can see it just prints out everything. And as I said, in order to access, you can just use the square brackets and then write the index from where and what you want. For example, if I want to do the same stuff that I did there, that is extracting the from time, if I want to extract IME, then first of all I will go to the first index, because the time, that is the time variable, is located at TIME. So what I will do is go on first, that is 0 here, this is 1, and then let me just use another set of curly braces, sorry, square braces, then I will pass my parenthesis. If I'm in this case, what I will do is just go with I and M. So in order to extract I and M, what I will do is, either I can write 1, because I starts at 1, and excluding E. So what I will do is, this is 0, 1, 2, 3. So I can just write it as 3, because 3 will be excluded in any way. Or else what I can do is just type -1, because E is at the -1th position. So in this case, let me just use it 3 and let me run. Okay, so this is how it works. You can see that IM is accessed, and if I want to access this 3.14, I can do it by writing 0, 1, 2. So it is just 2, then hit on run, click on this, and 3.14. Once done with this, what we are going to do is, let me just write here 3 and comment out. Okay, so we are done with tuple. Now let us understand the difference between the list and the tuple. The main difference is, we cannot add or subtract the data from tuple, wherein in case of list, we can add data and remove. For example, I will just show you a simple example. if I have a variable called num equals to 10, okay, and I have a list 1, let me just tweak that to list 1, then write a list that is 1 comma 2 comma 3, okay, and then what I will do is tuple 1 equals tuples come under the curly simple parenthesis, so 1 comma 2 comma 3. And what I will do is I will use the list operators on the list and try to add that 10 to the list. So how that can be done as list 1 dot append. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add or append the num to that. Okay, and let me try. Let me just take this as list 1. Okay, let me just print list. Okay, then what I'll do is I will try to do the same to tuple tuple 1 dot append the num, then print tuple, and this should throw an error. Let me just show you that. Here you can see attribute error, tuple object has no attribute append, because you cannot append the stuff. And let me just look at this. Okay, just need to go here, list 1 and tuple 1 and tuple. Okay, so now let me run this. Yes, the tuple object has no attribute to append, and here you can see for the list and it has 1 2 3. Now we have added 10 here, so we can do addition or subtraction of data in list. That is, we cannot do that particular stuff in this. So I'll just add an X here, and let me just comment this out. So now we have understood what is this appending, or what is the difference between the list and the tuple. Once done with this, what we are going to do is, there are a lot of functionality that we can perform using the list. That is, we can append, delete. Let me just show you. What we need to do is, you cannot remember all the stuff, so what I suggest you to do is, here on this page you can just go for documentation, then hit on this documentation here. Here you should have get started tutorial here. Then okay, coming down to lists, here you can see this, like how to work with a list. So this is complete tutorial from here. Slicing that we discussed right now, addition of the list, how we can concatenate the list with other, how you can operate on, like you can do the multiplication, addition, subtraction on the list, and how you can split the data and access, that we have already done. Then next we will be dealing with this later on. So that's it. So here we have that particular stuff here. Okay, or else what you can do is just search for Python list functions. You can just see here list methods program is. I just wanted to to show you that what you can do. For example, it's not always that you keep the stuff remembered out all the extent. Here you can just see what we had just used, list append function. What you can do is clear. You can just use list dot clear, and it removes all the items from the list. You can just make a copy using copy parentheses. You can just count the number of, returns the count of elements in the list, extend the list, adds the iterable elements to the list. So these are insert, pop, remove, reverse, and sort. So these all are all the functionality that you can do with the list. Let me just copy this. And let me just paste it here. So you can just refer this again. Okay, so we have all the operations related to list. So this is how you need to learn how to, this is the art of Googling, and you get the proper or right exact answer that you are searching for. Then once we are done with list and tuples, let us move to dictionaries. So as I said, dictionaries are nothing but key and value pairs. So how it works is, for example, if I declare a dictionary called my underscore dictionary, dic, okay, then what I'll do is create a dictionary using curly parentheses, and then let me just write a key and a value pair. So what I'll do is language is my key and Python is the value. In order to write the next entry, what you need to do is just give a column, comma, and then you can, it's not necessary that you write in a single quote or double quote. You can just go with any. I just wanted to show that you can go with any, that's it. And then what I'll do is here, and I guess Python was introduced in 1995, so let me just go with that, I'm not sure. Okay, so what I'll do is, let me just show you what you can do with mydict. If I want to know, if I just want to print the dictionary, I just do it by my underscore dict, print, run this, hit on here. Okay, it is my dic, that's it. Okay, here there was a variable error. And now what I'll do is, if I want to print the value associated with language, again we do is accessing, and we have told you that is, you just can do that using a square bracket. And if I want to access the value of this, I'll just paste it here, language, so it should print Python, right? File dot run module, so it just prints Python wherein you have selected language. And if I select here, so it prints 1995. So this is how it works. So we have done with this. I've shown you how to do, like, now let us again go to our old friend Google here and try for something similar on dictionary. A new program, yeah, here I have program is. So here you can do is, again they are almost similar, that is, you can just go for clear, it just removes all the items from your dictionary, and you just make a copy, then it just gives you the shallow copy of the dictionary. From keys, use the sequence of the keys. Get items, items is nothing but key and value pair. Here you can just see we will be using this. I'll just show you when we come to the looping concepts. And then here you can do this pop item, state default. You can just read this. Okay, what I'll do is just copy paste this, So this is how we work with dictionaries. Once done with the dictionary, let us now move on to something interesting, that is looping. Looping, there is something called as conditional statements, that is if, else, elif. We'll be discussing that. Then we will be doing with for loops, and then we will be doing while. So there is nothing like do while, so we have just a while. So let's do that. Let us start with if. If is a kind of condition. If that satisfies, it does that, else it just leaves. So in order to implement this, what we will do is take an example that is really appropriate to understand. For example, let me set a is a value. A is equals to something as 10. Let me just go up. Okay, that looks clean. Let me set e equals to 10, and if I want to check if it is even or odd, what I'll do is if. Okay, now I'm going to combine all the stuff that we did above. If a modulus, because the remainder of when it is divided by 2, when the a is divided by 2, if the remainder is equals to equal, this equals is an assignment, whereas this is kind of comparison operator. So if that is equals to 0, then what we do is, in order to terminate this, like we go with this and hit enter. You can just see there is a gap here. I mean the first space, you can just call it as an indentation. We just call it as an indentation actually, and it is necessary to make sure that your code is inside a certain block. So what it does is print number is even. Okay, else if there is a remainder that is 1, it should be, if it is 11, then it will be a remainder of 1. Else what you do is, else doesn't take any condition, you just go with this and print number is odd. So let me just hit run module, save it. So number is even because it's 10 and 10 is even. Let me show for 11 here. Run module. So number is odd, so 10 11 is an odd number, so that's it. Okay, let us make it a little more interactive. For example, if we like the a is equals to 11 is kind of static, so if I want to create something amazing out of that, and if I want to take an input from the user, okay, so we will be learning about how to take input from the user. In order to take an input from the interpreter or the live screen, what we do is just write input. Okay, and here you enter the data you want, or just to prompt the user to understand what you are expecting from there. So what we will do is, I will just write it here as enter a number. That makes sense, like we're asking them to enter a number. Then the issue with this is, this particular input is always taken as a string, but we cannot do a division operation on a string. Let me just show you. It will throw you in an error. I will just show you the error. So it says number, if I enter 2, it will throw an error. That is what I wanted to show you. So because it is going to be a type error, because you are trying to divide a string value with 2, because whenever it takes an input, it takes it as a string. So in order to convert any stuff of string to number, what we do is we use a type conversion. That is, if I want to convert this into an integer, I will just type int and then end it here. The whole thing is just put into an integer, so whatever that stuff is converted to integer. So you cannot type something like name You cannot just go with name and just give as input as a name and try to convert it to integer, because it's a string variable and it cannot be converted to an integer. So now understanding that, now our stuff is converted to int and then is assigned to a, and then we are trying to divide this stuff. Let me just show this. Run module. Okay, so let me hit on 2. So number is a1. That's working perfect. Let me just close this. Let us make it really more interesting now. Again, here what we will be doing is we will be showing the value entered. A is even, so it's kind of more interactive, right? So in order to print any variable inside a print statement, what you can do is, if they are of same we can say same type, for example this is a string and this is also a string, then you can just go with addition. As we discussed, we can do that with the addition or string concatenation. If it is a number, then what you can do is just give a comma and then write that particular stuff. But it is kind of like you just go with a division. For example, if I want to write something like number like this, if I go with this, that is a, for now let me just show you this. And if I type 4, so number is even, then it prints 4 because I have told it with comma 4. But the issue is number 4 is even. This sounds like good, right? So in order to write this here, what we can do is, either I should break this, type a, go with again the comma, and this, it just looks a little ugly, but you can just go with this. Okay, let me just copy paste this again here. Okay, this is double quotes. Then okay, now let me just run this. Let me just type 12. Yeah, so number 12 is even. This sounds good. But one more thing, a little advanced way to do this would be, or a nicer way to do this would be, so using a format, string formatting. So what we do here is, if I want to insert something here, for example, if I want to enter something here, I will create a curly brace. Then at the end of this string, I just put a dot and write format, open close, then write the actual value. For example, if I want to print a there, then I will just write it like this. So this is how it works. Let me just run, and if I type 12, so you can see the number 12 is even, so that this particular parenthesis is replaced with the value of a. And if I want to show just something like, again, another value here, what I can do is create another curly brace, and I can type, then I can just print again, once again the same name. So what I'll do is run, cancel. Let me just type 12. So number 12 is even, so later again we printed 12. So just make sure whatever you do is, you can just use this write dot format and then just pass it in the sequence of this orientation. So make sure that you pass it. There are other ways to do string formatting, but I guess the functionality is important than understanding the types right now. So this is how it works. You can, other way is, you can just go with the F letter here, then you can just type a here, then you type a here, and you just remove this. Even this is a kind of string formatting. Let me just show you. You can just, there are many other ways to do this, but let me just show with this one. So here you can see even this works perfectly fine. You can go with any, but I suggest you to go with this also. Even this one is easy. Rather than going with that particular dot format, you can just write F. This again stands for formatting string itself. But I have just applied it for this particular statement. You can just apply it the same for this particular statement also, the lower one. So I hope you understand this if statement and else statement. If it is true, do this, else do this. So what we will be discussing right now is this. So this is a comparison, comparison, comparison operator. This is greater than or equal to operator. This is less than or equal to operator. Then this is not equal to operator. So if we can just reframe this as, if it is not equal to 0, then it's odd. So something like that. If it is equal to 0, it's even, right? So what we can do is reframe it as not equal to negation of negation equal to 0. So if it's not equal to 0, then it against does is print it's an odd. Instead of even, we just need to change it to odd. So this is the kind of comparison operators we can use, or relational operators. Then once done with this, I guess the if was clear to you, but let us try to raise its difficulty, saying that number, let us take a number, then guess it is positive, negative, or 0. See, here we have 3 conditions, so I'm just doing it purposely. So what we'll do is positive, I'll just make it as plus sign. So if I want to write another if statement, what I will do is, we have else, right? So else and if we want to finish it as else, and I can give a condition, then we go with else if, and then we type our condition. Else if, then we write a condition. First of all, let me just change this condition. If a number a is greater than 0, then it's a positive number, right? And if a is less than 0, then it's a negative number. So let me just take this off here, and let me just copy this, and the number is negative, else the number should be 0. Okay, let me just comment this out. So here we are dealing with if, else if can be any number of times. You can use else if, elif, a ton of number of times, it doesn't matter. Then at last, make sure that it ends at else. You need to close it at else. So that's it. You can just go with if and just leave it off, but you need to end it at else if you're using elif. Then run. Let us run this. If I type 10, it just gives that number 10 is positive. If I type minus 10, number minus 10 is negative. And if I type run module as 0, it says number 0 is 0. Yeah, it makes sense, right? Okay, so we understood how to take input from the screen, convert it to integer while dealing with integers, and how to write a formatted string here, and comparison operators, how to go with if, elif, else. Now let us move on to for. Let me just comment this out. Okay. So now coming for the for, what we will doing is we will require something as a reference in order to loop through. So if I want to loop through a list, for example, there is a list called my list equals it has a contents like 1 comma 2 comma 3 comma 4 5 6 8 9. Okay, and if I want to print this whole list, what I can do is, as I said, in order to print the first number, I will need to do is print. I said you just need to go with a slicing, that is my list, and in that I need to go for 0th index in order to print this. Then in order to print the first index, I need to again go and change the value, that 0 to 1. So this can be handled using for. So what we are going to do here is we are going to loop through this list. So for, okay, for I in my list, hit enter and make sure that there is a indentation. So what I'll do is just go down, take this print statement here. Okay, now what I'll do is, already the I is holding the value from my list. So what I'll do is just print that particular stuff I. This is on the go declaration, that is I is just declared as we are writing the for loop. So it is not necessary in order to declare it first then use it. You can just on the go declare a variable then use it. Then for I in my list, print I. So what it does is I is 1 for the first time, and the second iteration I is 0, 2, 3, 4, so on. It just go on printing 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9. When there are no elements in my list and the I is equal to this stuff, then it terminates and just prints exited. Let me just show you. Yep, so 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 done, and it just exited. So this is how for loop works. And what I want to show you here is, if you want to print, I get, like, let's assume that you want to print something like a square of a number from 1 to 10. Okay, so you can do is you can use an additional parameter called range. For I in range from 1 to 10. So this makes sense. I in the range of 1 to 10, but the 10 is not included, so you need to go with the next number, that is 11. So I value is initially 1, then 2 3 4 5 6 up to 10, and 11 is excluded. Then if I want to go for the square number, so what I'll do is just take a star and multiply the same number with itself and just print it. Let me just run this, hit on OK. You can see 2 4 9 16 24 36 49 64 81 and 100. So this is how we make this has nothing to do with this my list right now in this case, because we are using a range function which calls a set of number with 1 to 11. And if you want to just skip few numbers, for example, if you want to go in a step of 2, what you can do is just write an additional parameter here 2, which makes like first I is 1, then it's directly not 2, it's not 2 3, not 3, it directly jumps to 4. Let me just show you this. Let's run this. So 1 9 25, it makes sense. 1, then it's not 2, then it's 3 square 9, then it's not 4, then it's 4 square 5 square 25. So this is how it works in steps of 2. There is no step of 1, because step of 1 is actually the whatever the I does is in step of 1, because from 1 it to 2 it just moves, right? So the 2 is skipping 1. So this is how for loop works. Now let us understand while loop. Let me just comment this. While loop, we can write it as while, and then it takes a condition here. While this condition is true, it just iterates. So what we are going to do is, there is a certain condition, until and unless it is fulfilled, it is going on continuously with that particular stuff. So what I'll do is, let me declare a variable called a with equals to 10. Then what I'm going to do is, if a is less than 10, okay, what you do is just print something as print, make sure there is perfect indentation here, there is a gap here, and then print a, and then increase the value of a by 1. I guess if you have used or learned programming in C, then you might have written something like I++, it's something like A++. So it just means that a equals to a plus 1. Okay, so this is what we are doing here. Then the a value is again erased. Okay, let me just set it to 1. So if a is less, let me just set it to 0, I guess. Okay, 0 plus 1, it starts at 1. So let me just hit on run module, hit on OK. So you can see it starts from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, and as soon as it reaches 10, the while loop condition fails, that is 10. A value 10 is less than 10. It fails, that is false, then it just comes out. So this is how it works. Until and unless the condition is true, it just goes on doing some stuff. So I hope the while loop was clear. Let me just comment this out again. What we will discuss now is the Boolean. There are two params here, like two written characters, that is T capital RUE. You can see that there is a color change. F capital FALSE, that is false. True is nothing but equals to 1, that is yes, kind of yes. Then false is something like no, so it is 0. I can just even prove you that the true value is equals to 1. So what you can do is just check this out. Print true plus true. So you can expect it to print 1 plus 1, that is 2. So you can see it is nothing but just 1. True stands for 1 and false stands for 0. So where do we use this? If you want to do some actions like while true, which iterates continuously, so in that kind of stuff, or if true stands like the condition is already satisfied. If false, that is means just that this, we can just ignore that crap. So like this, the true and false are Boolean expression wherein you can use, if that particular block is executed, you can just return true, etc, etc. So this is how true and false, and how, like if, for example, if I just go and replace here this with TRUE, then it keeps on iterating, because it doesn't care about what value of a, or because it doesn't have any condition, because condition already is set to true, that is it's infinite times true. So that's it, this is how it works. So this is how true and false is. So I hope this part is clear. So now we have done up to if, for, and while. Let's move on to an interesting topic called functions. So function is like something you can think like there is something or some part of code that you are going to reuse hundreds of times. For example, there is something like a rule that you are going to continuously call. So that is kind of a function. So you just do not keep on writing as the procedure. Okay, so let us just make a simple function. For example, let me just make twice, a function name is twice, just an example. So function name starts with def stands for definition or define, that is we are going to use to define a function. And first thing we write the function name. So I just said TWICE. Okay, twice. What it does is it just ends here, go down, and twice just prints, prints, prints a string called hello two times. This is just an example for functionality. Okay, what if I run this? Here you can see we do not get any output. This is because we declared a function but we forgot to call it. And how do we call a function? In order to call a function, what you do is write the function name. For example, here in this case it's a twice, and we call it by using those parentheses. Once I do this, let me just run this again. Okay, there was a print. Okay, I should have looked for the color change here. So it says hello hello. You can just see here I set it to print or something for twice. Okay, so what I do is if I just call it, if I want to write the same code again, what I will do is I don't write it again, I will just call the function again. So this is what I mean. For example, if I call this function is written once but I am calling it twice, so it just reduces my work, because if I write it 100 times then the function is just called 100 times and I do not need to write these two lines again and again. Okay, so this is the use of function. Now let us understand more about this. This was great to understand. Look at this and say like this calls a function. What if I want to print something that I sent or the user sends? So what we can do is if I want to take a parameter, then I need to declare that parameter in this section here. For example, if I want to take a parameter called as name, okay, then, and if I want to use that name and print it twice, name, okay, then now whenever I call a function I need to pass this parameter, that is name. So I can do it like, because the name is going to be a string, what I'll do is I'll just pass a string called as Python. Okay, so now let me run this. Here you can see it runs, it just prints Python. But let me just show you the beauty of function. Now what I did is I just passed Python and I was able to get it. Now let me just pass Java and let me run. It says Python, Python, Java, Java. So what it does is this particular function is written once for both of these cases. So this is the beauty of writing a function and then calling it based on the requirements. For example, the requirement was Python initially, then it was been changed to Java. So these all problems will be solved. Then let us look at returning things. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to take a function, pass a variable, then there is some sort of addition calculation here, then I want to assign it to something called as, let me just go a tab here, then name equals to, let me just take off this parameter here and this bracket. Okay, and then what I need to do is if I want to return that whole bunch as name alone outside, then what I'll do is return the value. It just cannot be, you can just keep it as name, but the value will be overwritten. What I'll do is just new name. Let me just set it as new name. It just makes sense. Let me just go here and return new name. Make sure it is case sensitive, so you don't mess up with capital letters and small letters. So once done with this, now what happens is even after you run, you won't be getting an output here. but there is also no errors. So what basically happening here is whenever we call the function, the new name value is being returned to this. So what I'll do is let me just for a while take off this, okay, and set this to a new parameter. This is name equals to, you can just randomly name anything here. Then let me just print okay. Now let me just hit on run. So here you can see it returns Python, because whenever I call a function twice with parenthesis along when I pass the parameter called Python, that is name, then that name is coming here, that is getting multiplied by 2, that is it just doubles its size or the letters. Then it is assigned to new name, and new name is returned as a return to this. So whatever is returned to this returns back to the name, and then what we are going to do is print the name here. Thus, so we print it here, and if I want to do something changes here, what I will do is I'll just change here and just run. Java. So this is how a function works. I hope the part of functions and returning the function was clear. What you can do is you can define multiple number of definitions here. You can just go with definition 3 times whatever. Might be, if you are interested, you can go with 3 times, 10 times, or you can just go with addition subtraction. You can just define a function for addition subtraction and then do that stuff. That makes sense. Like you can just call any number of times the addition subtraction and all. Okay, so if you want to pass 2 parameters, what you can do is parameter name, last name, okay, NAME. So what I'll do is here, let us just make it a little more interesting, saying that name plus last name, last NAME, and let me just pass it as TECHIE, comma, programmer. Makes sense. Let me just take this out, run module. Last name is not defined. A second. Last N is capital. Make this is case sensitive, so you need to be sure about the variable names. You can see here it prints Techie Programmer. So this is how it works, and you can just go for a number, for example square of a number, then you can define a square, and you just as I have passed this in a single quote, you just do not need to pass it in a single quote. You can just pass it directly, because numbers can be directly passed and the calculations can be done. And I hope you understand the type conversions, because you cannot you cannot add a string with a number. So that is how the concept works. Make sure you keep the things in the mind and while working, so that you get less number of errors. There is no solution for errors. You will be getting in errors, because as a beginner there will be a lot of stuff that will be going in ahead, so probably you will be getting few errors. No worries, you can just go forward and backward to the video and get your concepts cleared. So this is how we going to work with definition, that is a function. You can define multiple number of definitions for each and every stuff that you are building. Once done with understanding the definition and passing the parameters and multiple parameters, how we did here, now let us go on for something called as next level of this, that is classes. Okay, so here I have an example for a class. What we are going to do here, as I said, class is nothing but the collection of definitions. So let me create a class called person, then class person, then define underscore underscore init underscore underscore self name age, and that's it. So this is the parameters that we are going to take in. I'm not going to deal completely with the class in this because it's kind of object oriented and I want to cover this stuff in a separate video. So I guess until the definitions, as beginner level stuff or intermediate stuff is great, let's just try to understand the basic of it, that so that there remains a curiosity to understand these classes. So classes as a person, so class name is person, and then definition is underscore underscore init is initialization of the variables. For example, if I'm going to pass something, like example here I'm passing John and his age, that is 36. So I need to make a separate variable that a complete class and its functions can access. This is done so because we have an additional parameter called as self, because whenever we create an object, that is here in this case is p1. I will just explain you what is an object and how do we do that all stuff, but just understand the words. That is, this is an object, okay, and this p1 is passed as a self parameter, and like p1 dot name is something that runs. Okay, so let me just recap it again. What it does is, this is our class, this is initialization of the variables. Now I'm passing the name, that is John, and his age is 36, and the name is passed here. And what we do is we create a name, or that is object name, that is self dot name, because whenever we create an object, creating an object is nothing but just calling the class along with the passing by the parameters that are required in the class. So p1 becomes an object. So what I can do is, once if I create an object here, this p1 is kind of self, then I can access the rest of the functions, that is my function, which is present in a class person, that can be accessed directly from here. That is p1 dot my function. Okay, so self dot name equals to name that we pass here, that is assigned to self dot name. So whenever in this class, whenever I want to reference to this particular name, that is John, then I do not use directly it as name, but I instead use it as self dot name. So this is what I want to explain here. You just make sure you to write a self dot age. It is not necessary that you need to write self itself, but whatever you just pass here, make sure that remains constant throughout the execution, your class, etc. So it should be a constant word. So it's usually a preference to use self. It's kind of a practice. So self, name, and age. So we set it as name, and the age, then self dot name, and we have created a function which says hello, my name is so, that is John. So let me just run this. So my name is John. Whatever I pass here, it gets initialized, and then we can print it. And if I want to print something about his age, what I can do is plus, and it's a integer value. So we were able to convert a string to integer. Now we can convert integers to string by typing str, then passing the self. I said that is a compulsory parameter here, self dot age, then run. So my name is John, 36, kind of username. Okay, so this is how it works. So this is about the classes. We are not going too deep into this. Still, we will be doing or covering it in a new video, upcoming video. So done with classes. I just want to show you some curiosity towards the software development using Python. So there is a library called Tkinter in Python, using which we can create a beautiful GUIs, not exactly beautiful, but still good looking GUIs. So let me just show you a demo for that. So we do it by doing import Tkinter. Let me just do it as from tkinter import everything. So let me just, you can note, you just focus on the code, do not try to understand this right now. I will just explain this. I still need to explain you what are modules. We will do that, then later on we can just deal with this. Here you can see here there is a tiny window here. So this is kind of a tiny window we get. We can add buttons, we can add images, we can add entry box, a login section, tab to change the screen, all the functionality. So stay tuned for this tutorial. We will be having this soon. If you are done like if you complete this whole tutorial, then I'm sure that you might be interested in learning Tkinter. But I want to show you here is from Tkinter import something. So what is this particular line? We are importing something from Tkinter. So what we are going to do is, let me just, okay, this the Tkinter is a module, or we also called it as a library. So what it does is it has already someone has written the code for you, and you are just using the functionality of that. For example, like let me just create a new file, okay, and let me type it as like let me just define a variable called as pi equals to 3.14, then gravity, gravity equals to 10 meter per second, 9.8110, okay. Then language equals to Python. So if someone has written some code here, let's assume that it is more useful than whatever we have written, like Tkinter, okay. Then what we are going to do is, let us name it as const, constant, okay, hit enter. Now this file is in the same directory we have this particular whole code, okay. So now as there is a Tkinter module, we have created our own module right now, that is constant. And if I want to include the functionality or the parameters from that particular file to our file, what we do is we import. We are going to import that particular Python file, saying that import the file name. File name is constant, okay. So now constant, and that constant, let us just make a print statement here. We know we have the constant has a parameter called as pi. So let us print out pi. Then let us print out gravity. Dot gravity, then print the language. Okay, let me just run this. Do not use .py here, it just knows, because Python importing Python files, it knows that we are importing Python files. So here you can see we have not declared the values of pi, nor gravity, nor language, but still it has that functionality from the other file that we had just recently created, which is in the same directory. So this is how import works. And when I use that star notation here from Tkinter import star just means everything. So what I did here is, in order to access the pi value, I had to use constant.pi. So what I can do is, if I don't want to use this notation, what I can do is from from constant import everything. It just imports everything, and I do not need to specify this stuff anymore. I can just directly call as if I have declared that. So you can see I have said nothing, but it still knows the value of pi, gravity, and language, because someone has written a code for this particular stuff in this. So this is how what we did here. Someone has already written a code for developing a GUI and creating buttons, creating intersections, etc., checkbox, etc. We are just going to use that functionality or the functions, and then we are going to build our systems. So this is about importing and creating modules. So we have almost at the end of the section. I don't remember anything that is left now. So later upcoming videos you can just expect something on OOPS. I'll complete a big video on object-oriented programming using Python, and another would be working with Tkinter and building a beautiful softwares that you want. So there is no question now right now, that is like you can go for any of these two. It is not that you need to know classes in order to jump into Tkinter. No, you can just directly from this particular whatever, if you are familiar with whatever we did today, and if you get everything what we did today, then you can just directly jump to Tkinter and just start coding. And if you are interested in kind of understanding the level and like structuring and understand the classes, objects, etc., OOP level concepts, then you can just go for OOPS. Then you can just run back to Tkinter. Later on we will be introducing other stuffs. So if you like this video, do like, share, and subscribe. This was a huge big video, I know, but still if you are reached this end, congrats. That's it for today. For more video you can just comment on a suggestion topic in the comment section, and I shall try to cover that. So see you in the next video. That's it for today, and I hope you guys have a wonderful day.